Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm filming my follow-up Fridays on this little guy here. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. I did film a first impression on this foundation, so if you guys want to see my thoughts on this foundation as a first impression, I will link the video in the description bar below. But this is my full-on review now, so I have been trying this foundation out for a whole week, and I just want to let you know how I like it, what products worked with it, what products didn't work with it, and if I would recommend it to you guys, basically. So if you guys want to see my full review on this little foundation here, just keep on watching. So I have been testing out the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation for a full week, every single day for about 6 days, give or take. And I have been wearing the foundation for about 6 to 8 hours because typically that's as long as I wear my makeup. I don't wear my makeup like for 12 or 10 hours. Sometimes I do, it just depends on what I'm doing that day, but for the most part I do typically only wear foundations and makeup for about 8 hours, and I have to say it does last a very long time. Just letting you know right now, I am not wearing the foundation right now. I am testing out a new foundation, and that'll be up I think next Friday, so keep a lookout for that. But it is very long wearing. It claims to be a 24-hour wear foundation. I didn't have any problems with it going patchy. I didn't have any problems with it like breaking up on my face throughout the day. And you guys, like I have said, I do have oily skin. Usually the problem areas I do have are around my forehead and then in my nose creases. Those are typically the areas where foundations do break up on me. But with this foundation, it did last all day. I really love the finish of it. Even though I do have oily skin, I like natural kind of looking makeup. I like makeup that looks like your skin basically, and that's the finish that this gives you. It's very dewy and skin-like. It's not dewy to the point where it's like super glowy and like shiny, like shiny. It is a really nice kind of like skin-like appearance. It gives you that skin-like appearance. So it's really natural. It is really lightweight, which is something I really like about it, because there are sometimes, especially if you're wearing makeup every single day, it can get really heavy, like really quickly. So I just want to share with you a couple of the products that I did not like with this foundation, because I had set it all kinds of different ways. I didn't have any problems with any of my concealers that I use. I didn't have any creasing. I didn't have any weird like wearing off or anything. A lot of the problems I did have were with primers and with setting powders. So let's just go ahead and get into that. This is one of the primers that didn't work for me. It is a silicone based primer, and it's a smoothing primer. I told you guys I have to use a smoothing primer, especially with this foundation, because it is so illuminating. So this was something that did not work for me. It did make me super shiny, and I only use this in my nose and kind of my cheek area. This made me like glow, like really glow, to the point where I looked like basically a grease ball. So I wouldn't recommend this if you're oily to use this foundation primer. The Milani Prime Shield, the mattifying one, did not work either. This does work with some of my foundations, but it did not mattify. It actually made it just as bad as this one. This is the Maybelline Baby Skin. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. But these primers did not work. So into the primers that did work with this foundation, because I am oily and I like to use mattifying primers no matter what, these were the two foundation primers that did work really good at controlling my oil. And I didn't use this every day. There were some days where I didn't use this. I used them both on separate days, but they both wore really beautifully. So this is the CoverGirl True Blend Face Primer for oily skin, and this is the Rimmel Stay Matte Primer. They are not smoothing primers. They are basically just mattifying primers. But these work really good under this foundation. It still kept the glowy skin-like sort of finish, but it didn't make me super oily, and it kept me, like, I wouldn't say it kept me matte, but it kept my oils from breaking through for about 4 to 5 hours. I usually do blot my foundation and my face throughout the day, so it doesn't really bother me, but when I did not use these primers with this foundation, I probably blotted 2 to 3 times, whereas when I used both of these guys, I only blotted once. So these are really good. Unfortunately, I did not find any kind of affordable smoothing primers for this particular foundation. Like I said, all the primers that I use from the drugstore just seem to not work with this, but this Makeup Forever smoothing primer was a good one. The Benefit Professional was a good one. The Smashbox Pore Minimizer was another one. And the Becca Evermatte Poreless Primer is another really good one that worked with this foundation. It did keep my skin really super smooth, and this one, it doubled for a mattifying primer as well. This is awesome at keeping you matte and like smoothing your pores and fine lines and whatever. So if you are in the market for this type of primer, I think the full size is like kind of pricey. It's like $36, I believe, but it is a good primer. I would highly recommend this if you are looking for a new higher end primer. So typically when I want more of a skin-like finish, there are two powders that I like to use, and it's the MAC Mineralized Skin finish and the Maybelline Dream One. I really like these two when I'm looking for a lighter coverage and want my foundation to have more of a skin-like finish. But these did not work with this foundation either. They did cake up really bad around my nose. This one especially caked up around my mouth for some reason. I don't really usually have that happening, and like in the center of my forehead, which was really weird. Like I said, I don't usually have that happen with these powders. These are usually pretty light, but I think because the foundation is so dewy, it just did not work. Both of these, I wouldn't recommend setting it. If you're going to set it at all, I would not recommend these. Another one that is my tried and true, I love this stuff. I usually like to bake my concealer and my forehead, like basically the center of my face, and I love this stuff. I never had any problems with this making me look dry or super cakey, but with this foundation it did. And again, like I said, I think it's because it has that moisturizing property that it just did not work with this. This is such a finely milled product, but when I baked with this under my eyes and on my forehead, I just felt like it was so like caked on. Even after I brushed it off, and then throughout the day, about 4 hours in, I would say, I would start to see it break apart a little bit right here and look kind of weird. I don't know, I can't explain it. I should have took pictures. I was going to take pictures throughout the week when I did this kind of review, but it just did not work out. So hopefully with the next foundation that I'm trying out, I can do that for you guys, but this did not work, and it's like my favorite setting powder from the drugstore ever. Now to the better news. These are powders that I would highly suggest that you get, and two of them are pretty affordable and one is more of a higher end product. I'll start with the higher end product, and it's this IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Pressed Powder. I love this stuff. With every foundation I've ever used, I've never had a problem with it. I do use it to set my under eyes and my entire face. It is just a white translucent powder, as you can see here, and it does give you that super airbrushed look. So if you have huge pores and you really want to try this foundation, I would suggest getting this, because it, like I said, when you press it into your skin, it does give you that airbrush sort of finish, and it doesn't take away from the dewiness of the foundation. I love this. If I use this foundation more during the summertime, I will be setting it with this foundation, because these two are just a match made in heaven. I really love this, and I love this powder just in general. Now, this is another powder that I really like setting this with. It does kind of mattify the finish, and it's the NYC Smooth Skin Loose Face Powder. I would not suggest baking with this. It is a super finely milled product, but every time I baked with it, especially on my chin area, it does leave like a patchiness. No matter what foundation or concealer I'm using, it has always done that. So if you do use this, I would suggest just setting your face with it. But like I said, with this foundation, it does take away from the dewiness just slightly, but it still leaves more of a skin, like a demi-matte kind of finish, and it does like give you that airbrush sort of finish, just like this, but it's in a loose form. The next powder, which I've been loving with every single thing I use, is the RCMA No Color Powder. I love this stuff. Baking with it, setting with it, it works all around with this foundation. It doesn't leave it doesn't leave my skin looking patchy. It doesn't leave, you know, like it looking cakey or built up. This powder is amazing. If you can get your hands on it, I would highly suggest it. This little bottle here is like 10 bucks. I bought this in, I think, February, and it's lasted me this long. I mean, with this much, and I use it off camera almost like every day. So I really love this stuff, and paired up with this foundation, it is really awesome. It doesn't take away from the dewiness. It doesn't add extra coverage, which is, I think, something that these probably did, which made it look super cakey. But I really love this and the RCMA color powder. So my final thoughts on this foundation are, it's a really good foundation. It did last a long time. It does have a very dewy skin-like appearance, and for my oily skin girl out there, if you like that sort of thing and you don't mind blotting your face after a couple of hours of wear, I would suggest it. But all in all, if you don't like that type of thing, then I wouldn't pick this up. It probably will be a foundation that I use primarily during the winter time, because during the colder months I do not get as oily. But as for the summertime, it does make me look a little more shiny than my other foundations do, but that doesn't really bother me. Like I said, I typically blot my foundation on and off throughout the day, and it doesn't bother me to do touch-ups. But if you're looking for a foundation that's going to keep you kind of like skin-like throughout the day and you are super oily, I'm not too sure if this will work for you, because like I said, without using those two mattifying primers that I showed you, I did get oily after about 2.5 to 3 hours, and I would have to blot about 2 to 3 times a day without those primers. So I do really like this foundation. Like I said, I think I'll like it even more during the winter time when I don't get as oily. I hope you like this foundation review. Give me a thumbs up if you like Follow-Up Fridays, and let me know if you have any other products that you guys want me to try out and feature on my first impressions and Follow-Up Fridays. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like this video and my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I upload 2 to 3 videos every week. I am so happy that you guys stopped by to watch my review. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay? Bye.